Are you ready for a question?
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask the first question, okay? What was it like to train with Okazaki? What was he like? How did he teach?
Okazaki came in and he spoke. Sometimes, of course, in Japanese at times, and we look at it as but, you know, you roll your eyes because you don't know. But he was humble. But he was strict in the sense, you do it this way. He came in and everybody bowed, courtesy, and then he said, this is the way you do it. And we did. This is the way you fall. This is the way you do it. And right down the line. And when we came there, and I came there too, under Bing Fai Lao and then under Kufra, when we were there, this is the way we did it. Whenever Okazaki had a promotion, festivity, when the Oku board was done by me and another fellow by the name of James Young. We did it. That was, anybody can do the other boards, Sinyo and so forth, but the Oku board was done by us. And anytime Okazaki came, I said, okay, we need the two guys, the two boys, you know. I thought, you know, when you're older, you look at them, you kids. Okay, you may be 40 years old, you're still a kid. Wait until you catch up with me, then we talk. Okay, because here I am, I mean, I'm not too old, kind of old, only 75, but anyway. When I look at fellows of 40, gosh, it passed that so long ago. You know, not even the missionaries are coming out of that. But the whole idea, we worked together in there. And nobody looked at each other and said, I'm better than you. We worked. And we tried and over. You have to do the arts until you do it instinctively. Even for your protection, the hand arts and so forth, instinctively. It's not the idea you look at one thing and then you say, I have it. I saw it done, I got it. So when the time comes, you say, now what? Now what? It's almost like driving a car. When you get in the car, you automatically put the key in, the strap, so forth, and everything else. You don't think. It's automatic. I hope. Okay, unless you go down the road, you see the blue light blinking, and then it says, where's your strap? Okay, then you learn the hard way. And they just, I was just about to put it on, too late. But the same thing happened. Instinctively, you do it over and over and over until you don't even think anymore. Same with the hand arts, when you're moving, and it's a dance. It's a dance. It's not something you just sit there and they say, stiff, move, that. It's a dance. Because you have to go do it smooth. Because if you have to break out, you don't hit. Okay? It's one motion. Coming in, when you hit. The whole movement, everything has to be smooth. Because if you start being jerky, then you need more practice. You need more practice to make sure you get down pat. Same as you start the car. Remember even when you ride a bike, you know how the bushes used to hit you? The parked cars whacked you when you're passing by. The curbstone come up and whacks you. And then the brakes don't work because you like to use your feet to stop on it. And for the fellas that fall over, you know, the bar, you learn one time. You know, you learn how to key eye very softly. Ah! You don't say it loudly because you can't. Okay, you just try to keep it to yourself. Like everything else, it takes practice until you're really there. Like you see the fellas in the Indianapolis Speedway. I mean, they didn't have a license the day before and say, okay, let's race. They practice, and practice. Likewise for you. So that's how. Any other
questions?
Yes, you were mentioning oral tradition. Is Okazaki, Professor, did he have written manuals, or everything was?
He had the board. Yawara Nagashimi Oki. We call it boards. The only reason we call it board is it's written on the board. Okay? If it's on a sheet of paper, probably we call it another name. But it was just the boards. And they had Oku, Yawara, all the way down the line. It's all written. Yeah.
But did he say step one off of grab, or was it detailed as far as if you were to pass on, somebody could read that and go, okay, it's going to be off, but strangle and first move his left foot.
Okay.
Like to have those booklets.
Oh, okay. When he wrote it on the board, he said it. This is the way he demonstrated. And he said, this is the way it's done. And you remember it. You will remember it. Because he wouldn't have it in English on the bottom. It says, you do this, this, and this. They have the books out that have the description now. But during that time, it says, Yawara, katate hazushi e. This is the way it's done. You will remember it. Your brain is your book. You will remember. And even when Sig, Bing Fai Lao, and the rest would have it in the class, you will remember. This is the way it's done. So forth, so forth. So there's no written sheets. Just a board out there in Japanese, in English, written in English, just saying, this is the art. You have Kanitsu, Tomenagi, Seigoshi, so forth, and you knew exactly. When the exams were given, some fellows, some of the classes said, well, we'll take only 5. But when it came to my class, I said, we would take them all. You will go through all 20 Yawara, you will go all down in the nugget, every one of them. You will not miss one. You miss one, that's it. When we have the examination, you will be quiet. Nobody talks. We have the person doing it. You talk, you leave, you do yours next year. That is it. I've had parents come in, other people come in and say, why didn't you, only talking? There's 2 wires over there. You want to check it if the juice is running through it? Or will you take my word and say, don't touch it? You better take my word, don't touch it. Because if you touch it and you get shocked, don't come back and say, well, give me a second chance. The wires are not going to give you a second chance. We're not giving you a second chance. When you encounter, when you're fighting in another person, you always have it to have in your mind, you're fighting 2 people. Because if you stop on one, you don't know where number 2 is. If you take him to the ground to finish him off, you don't know where number 2 is. Number 2 does not necessarily mean another person. Number 2 can be the other hand. When you do it, make sure you're clear from the other hand in such a way that the other hand cannot hit you. Okay? The other hand is also a number 2. Keep clear. Keep clear. You have to move fast, move it before number 2 comes in. Because if you pull number 1 to you, number 2 cannot come until number 1 goes back. Okay? Number 2 cannot come to you until number 1 goes back.
Professor, going to the boards, who wrote the boards? Was it a group of people that wrote the boards, or did Okazaki oversee the writing of the boards?
He saw the overwriting, as I gathered, because Okazaki, when he was younger, he wasn't in the full health. He wasn't in full health. He was sickly, went up to the Big Islands, and he met this other gentleman. I can't recall his name offhand, but they have his name misspelled. Hawaiian fellow. And the Hawaiian fellow showed Okazaki 40 some odd arts that he incorporated in his jiu-jitsu. That's from Hawaiian Lua. In Hawaiian Lua, we learn, or they teach them how to kill. Yes?
So was this late? So this was later, after he developed a lot of the boards and he integrated it?
No, that's before.
Before, okay.
That's before. Okay. If anybody wants to record this, it's okay. You know, that may be the last time you hear my voice. No, I try to be back the second time. And anything you hear from me is purely coincidental. No, I'm only joking. Okay. But, like I said, when the boards came down, you have to memorize the board. You have to have all the arts right down. And of course, like on the shimmy board, you have you know, like 7, 8, 9, and 10. You know, the choke in and out, backwards, and so forth. Everybody remembers just 7, 8, 9, and 10. But if you tell them a name, what board? See? So you had to remember that. But as time goes along, you learn.
Okazaki professor, what was his teacher? Was he from Japan, or the lineage for his jiu-jitsu would come from Japan, China?
Oh,
Does he have a teacher?
That I don't know clearly, also clearly in that part, because when he came, he knew some of the arts, but he went up to the Big Island to learn the other part, and to have it incorporated into his jiu-jitsu. That's the part. As to who was his instructor prior to that, I don't know. I don't know.
Any other questions? Yes.
A very frequent comment about training the Danzoryu is the apparent, and I emphasize apparent, lack of concussion during the early part of training. Have you any comments on this or views? The lack of the punching or the kicking?
Could I answer that just for a second? He'll talk about Macaulay Dojo in a little while. That was his dojo. When I first joined him in '57, we had to learn 3 arts: jiu-jitsu, karate, and judo.
Behind the karate is your movement and your defense. It's not how you attack, because the other fellow, as soon as you're attacking, you're open. You're open. That is why your defense, you dance, you deflect, you hit. But you don't try to be the aggressor, because if you try to be the aggressor and get it to the person, if the person knows more than you, or knows anything or slightly, and deflects you, you're the victim. Because you're playing the part of, I am defending. Because you have the idea of defending, then you use it and you watch the movements. You watch the movements, the body, the leg, the arms, the head, the eyes. You watch the movements. Watch how they're doing it. And then from there, you pick up. You maneuver the person until you get to the person to your own area, your own battlefield. You don't fight him on his. You fight him on yours. So you know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. But you don't fight it on his. Because you fight it on his, you lose. Because he's waiting for you. But if you fight him on your term, okay, you move, you move, you move. You don't have to stand there and say, okay, I'm rigid. You have to be flexible enough, you move. Until you maneuver the person just to your liking, and then you move. Now, all the arts that you have, they are to be used not sparingly, but to your physical and mental condition. For you to use, for the small fellow to use against somebody that's 250 pounds, 260 pounds, and he's only 110, don't play the game, then you're going to throw. Okay? Because the guy's too big if you get in a fight. Don't come in for a throw, because all he has to do is put his hand over there and hit you on the kidney, and you're down. You're down. When he's on the ground, don't pounce on him. If you drop him, move. When you move normal. Just like you walking out. You don't run. You draw attention. You drop him, you move. You don't go down. The reason you don't go down, because you don't know where number 2 is. And you're not going to play the game as, I only see one guy. You don't know if the other fellow's behind with a rock, he can throw it and whack you and so forth. You don't. You don't know. Pray tell.